name's Morgan Gray. I'm a student coordinator down here at UCCS downtown. Thank you again for joining us for another episode of our Feed Your Curiosity series. I'm going to give everybody just a couple minutes to go ahead and get joined in if they want to. But just to give you guys a heads up, we are hearing from Laura Eurich today from UCCS. She is a professor, and then she also works for the Scribe here on campus. So really fantastic. Can't wait for you guys to hear from her. I'm going to go ahead and get her hooked up, and then we'll jump right into it. I'm just going to get her all hooked up. Give us just a second. All right. Hi, Laura.
Hello.
Thank you for going live with us.
This is fun. This is my first time being live.
Welcome. What a good account to be live on with us. All right. If you can give everybody just an introduction about what you do and a little bit about you, that would be great.
Sure. So I just finished my 18th year of teaching at UCCS, and I teach in communication. I'm the director of undergraduate studies. I am the internship director, and I am the associate chair for the department now. And then the other thing that I do that I love so much is I'm the faculty advisor to the Scribe, the student newspaper.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the Scribe is so fantastic. I know most people know about it. We have at least copies down here on all of our tables, and then it's all around campus. I hope that everybody's gotten a chance to read it or at least look through it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we'll just start off with our first question. How did you begin getting involved with the Scribe at UCCS, and how long have you been doing that for?
Well, as advisor, I've been involved since I started in 2002, more or less. There was a couple of years when I was an advisor, but more or less it was when I came back, I applied to be the advisor to the Scribe. And my time away from UCCS when I worked as a journalist really prepared me to work with student journalists. So, but my true beginning with the Scribe started in 1990 when I was a student at UCCS, and I applied and was hired, and I started as a reporter, and I was the features editor for the Scribe when I was a student.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome. Well, actually, we'll follow up with that one. How can students who are interested get involved? Like maybe somebody who would like to do what you were doing?
The best way is we list all the jobs on Sean's Place. And one thing that I love about the Scribe is that it is totally student-run, student-funded. I know we'll talk about that in a second. But it's a paper for the students by students. So I don't have much to do with the hiring except for the hiring of the editor. I have my hand in that, but then after that, the editor really has to hire everyone on the team. So jobs are always listed, and it's kind of a rotating thing where students can always apply to be a reporter or a photographer, and that's the best way to go about it, or just kind of show up, well, when we have time in office again, show up in the office and talk to them, because they're there working most days, and it's just a kind of cool place to hang out on campus too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. I like hearing that it's completely student run. I didn't know that. I figured, as far as the hiring process goes, that would be something that's done by you, but it makes sense if there's the editors, they probably want to have a say in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we there's a student media advisory board. We will interview candidates for editor, but after that, that person is in charge. And, my job as advisor is to help them as much as they need and support them any way that they need, but it's really their paper. And that's what I love about it. I really do. That I, as advisor, I don't edit the paper unless they ask me. If they go, oh, I'm kind of worried about this, then I'll get involved, but I don't edit it. I do critiques every week, give them feedback, and make sure, help them improve and help them grow, but I'm not in the newspaper business the same way. That's up to them.
Yeah, no, that's not something I knew. So I think that makes me even more appreciative of it, I guess.
Yeah, the really students who work on it do an amazing job. If you talk to journalists, they call newspaper the Daily Miracle. I don't know if you heard that in your internship, Morgan, but it's the Daily Miracle, because when you're done with it, you have to start from scratch every day and put out a paper. And in the case of weeklies, it's the Weekly Miracle. You start from scratch every week. You don't get to recycle content. So it's amazing that they're full-time students who put out a newspaper every week, and it's great quality content. And, I've always said the vision or the mission of the Scribe is that it is the only paper in the universe that focuses exclusively on UCCS. And so it's their job to tell the stories and give insight to UCCS. And
Yeah.
it's a great job that they do doing it.
Well, following on that same thing, what are you hoping to see in the future for the Scribe?
Well, this year with I'm assuming fewer students who will be on campus, it will be interesting because I think we might go to an online format, so we won't have hard copies being printed, which kind of breaks my newspaper heart a little bit because I'm old school and I love trees, but I love newspapers in hand. But what I think that allows us to do is kind of move into more of a daily format. So when you don't have when you're not binded by weekly, physical papers, they will be able to report news as it happens. And so I think that's really exciting, and it will give those students who are really interested in journalism this great boost because it definitely covering things on a daily basis is different. And sometimes you find a great story and then you realize by the time I get it into print, it might almost be 2 weeks down the road. So it kind of takes away from the excitement of it and the timeliness. So I think we'll see a lot more of that. I hope that this isn't where we go entirely, but
Yeah.
it could be. It's been harder for them to even find a printer, honestly. Our printer stopped existing in Colorado Springs, so we had to go up to Denver to get a printer. So the hard copy of the paper comes down every week from Denver.
Yeah, do you think maybe it could be something that got done like monthly, like every maybe online daily, but maybe like monthly?
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens, and see which direction it will go, but that wouldn't be a bad idea. I do think, people have to really know to go seek out online material, and that's the beautiful thing about the hard copy of a free Scribe. You walk by and you go, oh, that's a new paper. You pick it up in ways that you might not necessarily go searching it out on, your computer, on your phone. So I think that there is something really valuable to the hard copy.
Yeah, I mean that's true. If you walk past it and it's there, you're gonna pick it up and flip through it. Maybe read stories that you wouldn't even click on. But I mean, if it's already there and
Exactly.
it's got a good picture, then okay, I'll just sit and read it. So
Yeah, exactly. I'm really old
definitely.
school that way. I love old
Right.
newspapers.
I like newspapers too. That's why I did an internship with a news company.
Yes.
Right. And then I guess we touched on it a little bit, but I know we've had a lot of people asking about what the new media fee covers, and I think that might have something to do with the Scribe. If you want to describe that one a little.
Absolutely. So this was really exciting because honestly, when I was an undergraduate student working for the student newspaper, I wanted to see a media fee. So it took me 30 years to make it happen. And it's not me that made it happen, but all of us working on it together. And again, this was student initiated fee that they really worked hard on. But so the old funding method was there were student fees that came into the student government, and student government approves those. So the Scribe was sort of treated like a club as opposed to a student organization. And the same student government that the reporters had to cover at the end of the year would have to approve our budget. So you can kind of see where there could be tension. I mean, not every
Yeah.
student government operates perfectly, and we couldn't necessarily we covered the way we needed to, but sometimes it made for very difficult conversations at the end of a year when we had to ask them for money. So we went up a couple times, and it took the second time before it was actually approved. And so I wish I meant to look it up. I don't know exactly how much, but per student credit hour comes directly now to student media organizations. So this includes both the Scribe and UCCS radio.
Okay.
So now it's separate. And what's really good news about that too is it's a pretty small fee. It doesn't add much on to the student's bill, but it also takes the money that we were getting to fund us and radio, and that goes back to student clubs and organizations.
Okay.
So there's more money for them because I know SGA runs out of money every year. So getting more money back to SGA and all the student clubs is awesome. And then having that freedom that we don't have to report what we're doing to the government association to do our job. And there is a process as well. If new student media organizations want to start, we've really talked a lot about this in the Media Advisory Board. They have to put in an application, and they will be a club for a year. And then after being a club for a year, they can apply to become another student media organization and fall under the guidance of the Student Media Advisory Board.
Okay.
So there's the potential for other media organizations to be funded as well.
Oh, nice. That would actually be pretty exciting to see if somebody took that and worked in another thing. Have you heard like of anything coming up with that maybe, or like what it could be, I guess?
It could be a lot of different things. I'm not sure. It takes a lot of dedication to make these happen. Radio, they have programming through the week. They have a paid manager. They have a faculty advisor as well. I have on the Scribe, I think we have like 30 students who work on making that happen every week. So it takes a lot of dedication. So that's kind of why we thought being a club for a year and kind of showing that you have that dedication to make it happen was why we went that direction. And then they can apply. And one of the things that's also critical to me is that whatever organization joins, they have some sort of an ethical guideline as well. So radio has, I think they use NPR's ethics guidelines. We use Society of Professional Journalists, and then we've adapted that for our Scribe. So we have an ethical guideline that all of the students and the organization have to follow.
Yeah. Well, that's nice too, to know that the media fee is going towards these like clubs, or I guess organizations, I guess at this point, that are, actually having to follow certain guidelines and working hard to make sure that certain things are met. So that's really good. Thank you.
Yeah, if you hear a weird noise in the background, I close myself in a room and my cat is out there crying. So I'm not ignoring the child. She just sounds really sad.
I'm sure she'll be happy. Well, I've only got one more question for you. I guess I know that you got your bachelor's and master's degrees both from UCCS. What drew you back for both of those? So
I actually, when I graduated from high school, I wasn't going to go to UCCS. I went up to Greeley and went to UNC for a year and a half, and then all of my best friends flunked out or left for other reasons. So I was left in Greeley, and I just didn't love it. And so I came to UCCS kind of on the spur of the moment in between fall and spring semesters and said, well, I'll spend one semester here, and then I'll transfer somewhere with a journalism program. But the semester I came here, I got into the TV production class and realized I don't have to get a journalism degree. A communication degree is great. And I got so many opportunities being at UCCS. I worked for the Scribe. I managed to gain experience in radio, in television, and at the newspaper. I worked at the Gazette as a copy aide as my first real journalism job. And so then I just ended up staying and I got my bachelor's. I was pretty lucky because my father had a deal. He's like, I will help, I'll help you with your rent as long as you stay in school. And so UCCS had the master's program. Actually, it was shared between Denver and Colorado Springs at the time. And we had the communications center, and I got to be a graduate teaching assistant. And that's where I really got to start my love of teaching, was teaching public speaking recitations. And so I ended up getting a master's here too, with absolutely no plans. It just kind of happened that way, but it's the best thing that happened. And then what's funny is I left for about 7 years after I got my master's working for the Gazette, and then came back, and now I'm teaching. So it's kind of like my own Hotel California. I checked out, but I never left.
Oh, no, we are so happy you're at UCCS. Well, thank you for talking with me today. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap everything up. Thank you.
Hey. Yeah, it's good to see you, Morgan.
It's good to see you too, even if it's over Instagram. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks again, Laura.
Okay, bye.
All right, everybody, going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining us again for another episode of our Feed Your Curiosity series. We'll hope that you'll join us next week again. We're doing another Hear from an Alum, and this week is going to be Josh Gates. He is the Director of Community Impact at Pikes Peak United Way. Going to be really, really interesting, and we can't wait to see you guys then. Thanks again for joining.